KKHT wants you to meet three of the classiest guys in real estate.
I am Chris Kelso, the maestro of mortgage.
I am Rob Cook, the godfather of real estate.
And I'm Joe Orsack, the king of credit swing. And together, we're the Real Estate Rat Pack. Much like us, real estate right now is smoking hot. So whether it's buying, selling, or owning, you need to check out the Real Estate Rat Pack.
They're here to take your calls and answer your questions live. Call now, 1-800-808-5548. And now, the Real Estate Rat Pack.
I have my partner in yelling about back.
Well, I'm so glad that Joe's back. It's been a long negotiation with his agent.
Yes.
And, he's been the holdout for 3 weeks now.
3 weeks.
And
He's been traveling. He's been offering his services around the world, traveling. He was New York forever. I mean, they just had him there. They put him on the red carpet. They put him all around. They toured him all around. They just convinced him. They were like, you've got to stay up here. New York is the place to broadcast out of. And then I put one phone call into him, and he's like, I'm back with you guys.
Yeah, you got to go where it's fun.
Yeah, you got to go find. And you know what? We already have a caller in here. And it's
We absolutely have a caller in here.
Christy Borden, are you there?
Here.
Hey.
How are you doing there, young lady?
I am great. Good morning to you guys.
Likewise to you.
You've got a big event going on this afternoon, in which I've attended to in the past, and it's pretty spectacular. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Well, thank you, and I really appreciate the opportunity to do so. Our brokerage, Better Homes and Gardens Gary Green, has held this event now. This is our 8th year, and it's called the Katy Sunshine Fest. And we named it so because it is to benefit the Sunshine Kids, which is near and dear to our hearts, as well as so many people. It's an organization that helps improve the quality of life for children undergoing the treatment of cancer here in the United States and Canada. And we have managed, last year we donated over $50,000 from this event. Our goal this year is even bigger. We are expecting
how big a goal, Christy?
Well, we've set 75. We try to set a big
Push
goal
the bar
out there. Yeah, we do, and we're expecting about 1,000 guests. We've erected the big top tent. We're kind of famous for this huge 8,000 square foot steel erected monstrosity that we hold the event under, and it's wonderful. It's a big community event. So we just welcome folks from the community to come out and help us support the Sunshine Kids.
And what's the address for that?
The address is 23922 Cinco Village Center. And you'll see the big top. You can't miss it. Katy, Texas, 77494. And they can go to our website to learn more. It's katysunshinefest.org. And, of course, you can leave my contact information if someone would like information on donation. If you'd like to attend, just let us know. It's a great event. It starts at 5:30 to 9:30 this evening, and we're very excited. We have a TV celebrity, of course, G.W. Bailey, the national spokesperson for the Sunshine Kids. We have Michael Garfield coming, the high-tech Texan. We have Johnny Caraba coming, the restaurateur, and we have a couple other radio celebrities that I don't have their name in front of me, but people will know who they are.
I will be there. That is correct.
You guys, of course. And I want to really thank you guys, Chris Kelso. Thank you for sponsoring one of our raffle prizes. We do have a great raffle with iPads and some fun things, and we've got live auction, silent auction. We have so many wonderful ways to help contribute and maybe come away with a really great prize. So it's really going to be a great time. And we do have 8 restaurants providing food. We have drinks as well. It's just going to be a great evening for our community.
And I'm going to bring you that money for those 5 tickets I wanted to get from you. So.
No problem. But we really appreciate you letting us highlight this event on your show. You guys have all been great supporters of us and this event. And it is for the kids. The nice thing is all of the proceeds from this event go to the kids. So that's why we do it.
And that's what counts.
That is awesome. Well, Christy, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you late this afternoon at 5:30. All those listening, get out there. There's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of food, a lot of festival. It's for a great event for the Sunshine Kids organization. And let me tell you, it's a lot of fun.
Thank you. And just a reminder, the website is sunshinefest.org.
Sunshinefest.org. Get out there. You can donate. You can buy raffle tickets. We look forward to seeing everybody and all of our listeners
and
out
the
there.
food out there is usually outstanding.
Incredible.
They have a lot of restaurants
well.
that show up, and it's awesome.
Yep.
Of course, and I'm sorry, I miss. It's KatieSunshineFest.org. I don't know what KatieSunshineFest.org, and the food will be great. You know, Johnny Caraba's going to be there, so you know it's going to be great.
Absolutely.
So you guys, thanks, and have a wonderful day.
Well, thank
Likewise,
you,
you
Christy.
too, Christy.
I
We'll
Thanks,
see you later on
Christy.
tonight.
Oh, appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You know, and that's always really important. You know, it's always important we tell everybody is, you know, we do a lot in the community. And as successful individuals on this room, you know, in fact, we were talking, you know, Samantha Maret and Rob Cook and all of us were in a big meeting also talking about the Sunshine Kids Festival and, or the Sunshine Kids in general and everything we do. But it's important the more success you have, the more you give back. In fact, that's part of the show that we're going to have today. It's the long road to success.
Exactly, and of course we have. And real quickly before we get on to Samantha, is that you know the MS 150 riders are today.
Absolutely.
And I want to applaud them. They're riding for multiple sclerosis, and one of our agents of Stacy Sutter has been training for a long time. He and his wife are riding, and I made a donation to them but you know, the contingency is he has to survive it and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so.
well, you know, and not only is the MS 150 going on today, we also have the Avon Walk going on today. And so, you know, we have a lot of activities going on, and I tell everybody is whether you are involved in a specific organization or not, whether you have a passion for something or not, get out there, get involved, donate, become part of the community, and give back because that's extremely important. There's a lot of good things going on right now. I mean, as we all know, we all in this room participate very heavily in some of these items. But, you know, to Stacy, and we've got Mr. Martini who's out there as well. We've got all the Kennedy group who's up there on the Avon Walk today. So it's just a very, very busy weekend.
Busy weekend.
Absolutely.
So, and, you know, today we have on our show one of my favorite people is Samantha Maret, the beautiful Samantha Maret. They got a face for TV, and unfortunately we have her on radio. And she's with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Anderson Properties. Whew, said that all in one breath.
Say all that in one breath.
And Samantha's going to talk a lot about the long road to success, but we've got a caller on the line. I think this is something that Samantha can answer because she worked a lot with investors. And so we have Kevin on the line. Kevin, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. You had a question for us.
Yeah, I was just curious. I was looking at investing in some real estate properties, rental properties, and I've never done it before. And I was looking at the type maybe to start with: condo, duplex, single-family home. What's a good starting point?
Well, Samantha, I think that's a good one for you to field.
Sure. Well, I guess the short answer is the good starting point is whatever you're comfortable with. If you've had any personal experiences with townhomes or condos or single family, that would probably be the natural segue for you. Personally, I like single family. You don't have to deal with the HOAs. You don't have to deal with all of the maybe shared walls. I mean, there's a myriad of different reasons why. But single family, you seem to have a little bit more control and can manage better.
Got you. What about in terms of, say, if I had maybe $100,000, is it best to purchase a single home or single family? Because that's what I'm mostly used to. Does maybe a small house, or is it better to maybe carry a mortgage on multiples, or is it start with one or start with two, three? I mean, what's the ratio?
Well, if you're getting started in investing, I think you have to really kind of sit down and build basically a business plan. Look at how long you want to be in it. Look what it is that you hope to gain over the 5, 10, 15, 30 years. What is it? And then you start factoring in properties and deals that make sense into that plan.
Gotcha. What about rent in terms of ratio of rent to the cost? In other words, if you buy a $100,000 home, how much rent you charge on something like that?
Well, I mean, that answer isn't, I'm sorry, I'm saying to be ambiguous, but that's not really a short answer. It depends on the geographical area. Depends on how much money you had to put into it. You also have to factor in make-ready and vacancies, and there's a lot of other things. If you go to my website on the tools page, there's some ROI worksheets and some analyzers that are free. You can download
ROI
them.
is return on investment.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Sorry. There's some great worksheets that you can plug in some information and just sort of start walking through those models. That could help you. And then you can, of course, give me a call and we can talk about it more.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Kevin, hopefully we answered all your questions right there. Thanks for calling. We really appreciate it. And one of the things we always talk about is the fact is that people ask these questions all the time, right? what's potential rent, what's my potential mortgage, and every scenario is different. Every single scenario is different. It depends on the market that you're buying into. Depends on what your business plan is and what your model might be. Are you looking to get a payback associated with cash flow, or are you looking to build equity over a period of time? So those are different factors to always consider whenever you're looking at investing in any property.
And that's where it's always so beneficial to speak with an expert, because it's really about what your goal is. And when we sit down and do a credit consultation for the person, one of the first things we ask them is what their goal is, because that changes how you address what the situation is. So this is a good example of that. If you have different goals, it can impact the investment strategy that you build for the long
Absolutely.
run.
My clients have a myriad of different reasons why they do everything. I have a couple clients in particular that like to pick up home owner finance properties as investment properties, just because that's what fits their model.
Because financing is so easy today, right?
Yeah, it doesn't, and it doesn't tie up their credit.
It doesn't tie up their credit. Yeah, their debt to
exactly.
ratio, their debt to income ratio isn't looked at as aggressively, and they may have some other cash under the mattress that they're using. I'm not sure, but
right
now, Samantha, you might kind of confirm this, and my suspicion that with investors right now, they're paying market value.
It's getting extremely close.
So they're not getting bargains and stuff like that.
It's,
we're getting 2 or 3 years
on the
ago.
MLS, as much as I love horror, I'm a huge advocate. There's just not. It's too competitive. There's just not any real deals on HAR or on the MLS right now. So yeah, you've got to find some other resources.
Yeah.
And again, working with a professional who has a network, that always helps. I do many transactions between multiple clients.
And what I'm seeing is because we've had great appreciation in value, that people are going and said, look, if I break even for this first couple of years,
right,
I'm okay with that.
See,
and they're building equity, but they're also later on, if they hang on to the home, as the rents go up, they raise rents going along that same line. So.
Right. I have quite a few listings actually where you can actually buy cash flow. My clients just don't necessarily want to keep that type of a rental property in that area for whatever reason, doesn't fit their model anymore, what have you. And I think that's been one of my largest frustrations this year, is explaining to people, we transfer leases, deposits, everything to you. You're walking in at 8 to 10%. This is still a deal, and you still have the traditional transaction where you'll have inspections and repairs or amendments and things too.
Well, one of the things this show is about, to back up a little bit, is about the long road to success in real estate. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to ask you some of these questions. One of the things people buy from people want to hear success stories. People want to, people want to find out who I'm doing business with and why I'm doing business with you and how did you get involved in the business and what has made you successful today. So to step back a little bit, what got you into the business? How did you get started?
And people ask me that frequently. Me as a realtor in my business, as it has been for the past few years, is really a culmination of everything I've done since I've started working at probably 12 or 13. But I used to play Office. I didn't play dolls.
Right.
It's actually truthful.
Bob Smart's over there.
So I was started out in high school and in college in hospitality, so natural customer service abilities, and then moved up to New York City and worked for Guggenheim Partners as the operations director. So in private investing is what we focused on then. So I think when I switched my business a little bit to go into real estate, just the understanding of how investors work and operate, how funds work and operate, and knowing the vernacular and living that experience, and again with customer service and my people personality.
Absolutely.
And,
the effervescence,
it was the building of all of it together. I'm happy. I couldn't be happier.
Well, and that's one of the things I always like to see is I always like to talk to individuals about how they got involved, how they became who they are today, what drives their passion associated with this business, right? Because it is one of those businesses that you can be extremely successful in it, but I tell everybody is no matter what you do in life, you have to have a passion for it. Mm-hmm. And everyone in this room today that I'm here has a passion for what they respectively do. And we all started off with that seed, right? You all take that one seed, gets put in there, and it flourishes into, a plant or a flower or a big oak.
No, but I generally feel like I'm still helping people. It's not any different with that respect. Investors are people too.
Yes.
Well, we're going to be coming up against a break in a moment, but you're not going anywhere because we have another round after at the end of the show. And so how do people contact you?
You can reach me on my website at www.maretgroup.com, and that's MaretGroup.com, or 832-589-6646.
Maretgroup.com, and she is with the incredible Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Anderson Properties. say that all together, especially when you had a couple of shots afterwards. But she's going to stay. She's going to stay with us. We're going to continue to talk about this. We have some great guests in the studio today, and those guests are also going to be talking about their long roads to success in real estate and what's going on. And then we're going to talk a little bit, obviously, along the way about different real estate questions. If you have a question, give us a call out there, 800-808-5548. We want to hear from you. We have a lot of great experts to be able to answer any of those questions for you. Stay tuned. We're going to a break. We'll be right back.
Don't ask me, I won't dance. Don't ask me, I won't dance, madam, with you. My heart won't let my feet do things that they should do. You know.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
And we are back. I think we lost Chris Kelso somewhere where he
And Samantha and I are just having a great conversation over here.
So why don't we go ahead and do a radio show while we're here?
What the heck? Let's live out on the edge.
And again, we have nothing but professionals on today. People who are having great careers, and today with from Keller Williams up in Kingwood, we have Clint Reynolds.
Mr.
Welcome.
Clint Reynolds, how you doing, sir?
Very nice to be with you guys. Doing great.
So tell us a little bit how you got in the business and what you've been doing, and we want to know about you.
Oh, well, thank you. I actually started I was in education and in ministry for about 8 years. And
awesome.
Always
you said ministry?
Yeah,
Awesome.
actually
What
did
did you
youth
do?
ministry and education in that for a number of years in the Lutheran Church.
Oh, okay.
And so it was,
Catholic light.
Yes,
Catholic light.
Just a little break off there. But yeah, I enjoyed that very much. But always had a passion for real estate. Wherever we went, together vacations and stuff like that, always had an interest in the real estate market in each individual place. So the opportunity came to be in real estate, and I live right in my hometown. I know a lot of people and have a real passion for bringing people in. And as they come into our town, which we get a lot of people who relocate from other parts of the country, to bring them in and kind of be the advocate for the area, and give them a tour and help them to get to know, just exactly where they're going to be going. Just had a real passion for that. And so was able to have some success here in the last number of years. So.
I love that. Just that concept right there. One of my pet peeves, if I ask a realtor if there's an area of town that they specialize in, they say, well, I sell homes all over Houston.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, wonderful. Is there an area that you know better than another one?
Right. I like to
if
tell
I'm
people.
trying to refer somebody to you and I want an expert in an area, and right there, you just hit on it.
Well, in defense of the people who work otherwise, there's two ways to approach business. One is a sphere of influence, and that's the people that you know and trust you and like you, and then there's the people that work the geographic. And so there are two different distinct ways to do it, and often, and like Samantha was saying, she works with investors, so often you end up going into different locales. However, I have made, and I when I teach classes, I talk about these people who put up area specialists on their signs, and if they're in Kingwood and they have a 409 area code, we can pretty well assure they're probably not an area expert. So talk about that. I mean, about being a specialist, because you do have a niche that you work.
I do exclusively. I consider myself a farmer, a very heavy farmer, and I try to keep all my marketing dollars and everything like that within the neighborhood that I live in, and that just happens to be Eagle Springs on the northeast side in Humble. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. It's like when I was looking for an agent, when I would buy a house before I was an agent, I wanted somebody who absolutely knew the community and even knew the history of where things are coming from, knew about the builders and why those builders were in there, and which price trends for each individual builder, and so that gave that kind of opened the door for me and a lot of clients.
That's really important information, because I do tell people, because you can get history and things like that from areas, but if you cross some streets in certain subdivisions, the change in price can be 20% difference. And
absolutely.
And if you're not aware of the area, that you're going to get wrong information. Go, well, one down the street sold for this, so you should sell it for that. And the fact is, they went past that one street. And
well, we tell everybody all the time, misinformation is abound out there. And I'm positive Clint probably sees it all the time. I mean, even up in the Kingwood area where you have, you mentioned Eagle Springs, but you have a lot of different areas up there. Right. And people want to tend to associate, they might want to compare one item from Eagle Springs to something across the street for negotiation, both on the up and the downside, right? And so you're having to always constantly explain to somebody, hey, here's the way comparables work. Here's the reason why you need to look at this. If you're looking for your children to be in a certain area, if you're looking to commute to a job to a certain area, if you're looking for a certain type of social atmosphere, it's all dependent upon that agent knowing the area and the surrounding area and what's available, what's going on in the community. And in Clint's case, he's involved. He's involved in the community, involved with family, involved with a lot of aspects that are going on down there.
And that's what people buy in neighborhoods. Because we talk about a lot about that. People are not buying homes; they're buying lifestyles. And if you know what's going on in the community center, if you know where all the churches are, you know where all the grocery stores are. I mean, those are important factors. If I was moving to an area, if I was coming from New York City and I moved to someplace, I'd want to know all the little nuances of a neighborhood, and you're not going to get that from somebody who came from 30, 40 miles away. You
know what I want to get to know, though? I want to get the nuances of Clint. How did you get involved in real estate?
Well, you were gone when we covered a lot of this.
So. Oh, you already did? Okay.
You stepped out.
I stepped out from it. I did.
He went to get his iPad.
I was still looking for it just now. It was great. Can you believe that?
So, but he has a great history of how he got into it. And again, it's not different from what he was doing. He was in teaching ministries. But you know what? He's still helping people.
And part of real estate actually is teaching. We talk about this all the time is you never stop learning. And I think you probably can attest to this, Clint. Well, number one, you never stop learning. But number two is the amount of misinformation is out there gives you an opportunity to actually re-educate individuals what's going on. What are some of the things you're hearing nowadays about misinformation? What are you teaching people the most nowadays that are getting either buying real estate or getting back into buying their second or third or move-up home? What are you hearing the most out there?
Well, first of all, there's so much information that's out there, and I think people get very overwhelmed with it. And there's so much misinformation that's out there now with many different secondary websites that take our MLS feed, and that may be a different conversation. But there's a lot of different information.
He's talking about Truly and Zillow. I have no problem saying that.
But for the most part, people come in with preconceptions from different markets than they were in. Different experiences that they had. So I spend a lot of times kind of teaching them about Houston, and teach them about our trends. We don't have too many highs, we don't have too many lows, but at the same time, it's still a fabulous place to be. It's a great place to raise your family and to have a career and a nice home and a nice neighborhood. But we do need to kind of look, I think you were speaking to it earlier, just about there are different areas, even in a certain segment of Houston. Houston is such a large melting pot, with many different opportunities for people to own homes that we have to educate too. It's like, this is where you need to be. This is where the trend, this is where the pricing has been good. This is where we've seen good appreciation with homes. This over here is this fantastic community. The builders in it are top notch. So we spend a lot of time with people just trying to generally educate them to just how the market works around here.
And and one of the things you do see, we are seeing, obviously, as you mentioned, Houston is a melting pot. A lot of people coming in from outside of Houston, not only internationally, but also within the United States. And the one thing I tell everybody is we are absolutely living in a bubble. From a Houston perspective, how are you seeing that coming into play?
Yes, Houston is definitely, we're bringing a lot of jobs here. Yep. We're bringing a lot of jobs here, and a lot of parts of the country aren't experiencing that at the same time. So, we're almost seeing a point where there are so many people coming here that it sets us so far apart from everyone else.
Right.
That, so it's like, some person will have an opportunity. I'll have people come in here and they've got multiple opportunities and they'll choose Houston because they see that something's happening here, that people are coming here, and there's.
Well, having just come back from New York, and actually twice, I was in New York and came home and then had to go back to New York.
Came back.
There is absolutely, having been, we went all over the New England area up there. Having been up there and to other large cities, it's absolutely true. And I'm, stepping on the toes of my New York friends. I have friends up there. But the whole Southern charm and the Southern hospitality thing, it's true. It is true. I mean, just generally speaking, people are just nice here. And you have a lot of things. I talk about the weather being a filter to weed out the weak. Down here, only the strong survive. But it goes true on the flip side too. I froze my rear end off up there. I don't want to go back.
Every picture you were bundled up, and
yes.
I'm like,
it was
it's
the
March.
Arctic Circle. Of course, we chose the coldest winter in like 40 years to go there. But all right, whatever. It is hot here, but in a general sense, Houston. I'm a Texas and Houston fan. It's an amazing city and an amazing place to be. When you work with folks, do you first of all, do you work with a lot of people moving into the area, and is there a little bit of a culture shock in the difference of the environments from where they're coming from?
Well, my primary client is actually someone who is, coming into the area from outside of this area. A lot of non-Texans. So it's kind of fun to be the resident Texan, one of the first people they meet when they come here. I don't wear boots or a cowboy hat or drive a big truck or anything, but it is kind of neat to be that first face of Southern hospitality as they come here.
What do you find that they're looking for? Is there something that they're looking for in particular?
They want a big house. I think we have that reputation here in Texas. I think, they come here and in Houston, they know that, maybe what they had when they were living in Chicago may have cost even more than what they'd be looking to spend when they're here, but they can get a gigantic place with lots of upgrades and a great community here in Houston, or specifically in my area in the Northeast side, that they didn't have back home. And I think that's what they're looking for. They're excited about that.
Awesome.
Are you finding most of the people are connected to the oil industry that are coming in? Or
The good majority, yes.
No, that's what we're seeing a lot. Of course, with the campus going in over for Exxon up in the Spring area, they're actually going as far over as Kingwood,
right?
Because you can't find anything in the Woodlands at all.
Yeah, we're kind of the alternative to the Woodlands.
Yeah.
If people come up to the Woodlands, which is extremely nice, first class all the way, but then they come over here and they say, you know what, I can get away from the crowds a little bit and still have a nice place.
It's the livable forest.
Well, it's not only livable forest, but people don't realize 59 is a hidden gem.
Oh, it
up
is.
There. I mean,
please quit talking about it. In fact, I want to keep it that way.
Yes, it's a hidden gem up there, and and Kingwood is actually minutes away, really, from the Woodlands. If you want to get away, if you want to spend some place on the weekend in which you have all the amenities, but you don't have to be in the hustle and bustle of everything, it's a great area.
And you're up there often because Capital Title has an office up there, and Willow Bend Mortgage has an office.
That is correct. That is correct. I'm up there. I drive by Clint's office all the time.
See how I got that worked in?
That is correct.
So Joe, what I'm thinking here is we've got a Capital Title, Willow Bend Mortgage, a great realtor in Kingwood. I bet they can find you and get your new house financed for Kim.
I think we could. We could get Kim taken care of.
I did work it in.
Yes, that is really good. It's been a little
kind of
while,
fun to see how y'all are going to sneak that in there on every show.
How there's going to be a way. Well, there's a will, there's a way. Remember that.
Kim pays me well for this, by the way.
I wouldn't doubt it.
So just a weekly reminder and things like that. So, but I do want to qualify one thing you said about Houston being a bubble. That means we're insulated from the rest of the things that may be going on with the rest of the country,
and we're not.
But we're not in a bubble like California or Nevada or Florida, where they were appreciating so quickly, and it created a false value, and they collapsed.
Right.
We've always gone up a little bit at a time. We might see 10% appreciation right now in this market, but most times we're seeing a very steady 3 to 5% appreciation, and so that's what you want because it's something you can depend on.
And I would absolutely agree. I'm going to bring that up as soon as we come back from the break. But before we go to break, Clinton, how can we reach you, by the way?
Well, my website, soldbyclint.com. So Clint, CLINT, soldbyclint.com.
Soldbyclint.com. Great agent up there at Keller Williams in the Kingwood area. Look him up. We are coming up against a break right now, so stay tuned and we'll be right back.
The room was completely black. I hugged her and she hugged back. Like the sailor said, quote, ain't that a hole in a boat? My head keeps spinning.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
They said our mics are on. We better
once again.
And welcome back.
Going on the break.
We always do. We always do.
I really think we ought to have that between the break show and make that as a whole segment.
Yes, I would absolutely agree right there. But we have a great show. We're talking about a great theme right now, which is the long road to success.
The long road to
in
success.
real estate. Our next guest up we have actually is Fabian Corzo. And one of the things we're going to do, we're going to start conducting this in Spanish from right now. Fabian and I realized that he's Colombia, I'm from Mexico, so we're going to take this Latin American style. But
listen, and welcome, Fabian. Welcome to the show.
Buenos dias.
Buenos dias.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm going to give kind of a little prelude here. Is that I was meeting with Fabian early part of last week, and or was it this week? It was last week, I guess it was. Anyway, I've slept since then, and he has this compelling story of how he got here from Colombia, how he got into real estate. I mean, it was a great story. So I wanted to say, you need to come on and talk about that. So.
And it's a perfect, and we built the whole show around you. Can you believe that?
Yeah, exactly. But it was a great talent. His dad was a veterinarian in Colombia. They came here and worked, various jobs to get ready. And I was visiting in his lovely home in Memorial. So talk about a little bit about where you started, how you got here, and how you got into real estate. I mean, you've got a great success story.
Sure, I'll give you the Cliff Notes.
Okay.
My parents immigrated from South America, Colombia, 30 years ago, and basically they were escaping from various reasons. Number one, the guerrillas. My mom was a judge at a small town, and there was a lot of killing going on, and the crime, the drug lords, the guerrillas. So they basically said, let's come over here and start all over.
And we're not talking about guerrillas from the jungle. Even though they are pretty jungle-oriented right there.
They are guerrillas, and they are in the
we
jungle.
are talking about sort of like the guerrilla warfare. We're talking about in the sense of people.
Yeah. That is correct. That is correct. So when we live down there, we have decent. My parents they were blue collar employees and they had good jobs. My dad was a vet. My mom was an attorney. We went to private schools, but coming to America, basically they wanted to move to an area in Houston where they had good schools. So they moved to Memorial High School. They moved to a condo, and we started from scratch. New language, new culture, and as a teenager, that was a culture shock. So
I can't imagine coming to a whole different country and having a whole different language.
So we started from scratch and getting manual jobs, and from then on, we were able to all graduate from college and start a business in real estate 20 years ago with the help of my parents. They started the business, and basically I stepped in a couple years later, and we took it to the next level.
And right now, your dad still works with you, doesn't he?
Yeah, they work with me on a part-time basis as buyer's agents. They travel quite a bit all over, so they're a lot of fun. Most of our clientele are in the oil and gas industry nowadays, and they're from South America, Mexico, Europe, and a lot of people that are moving in. They do speak English and Spanish, but due to my parents, being comfortable with the culture, it's a good match for them.
I remember meeting your father, actually, at a closing I did. I remember meeting him right there. So I'm looking at this at the Corzo Group Properties logo, and I was like, I totally remember your dad at this point. Very nice man, by the way.
Thank you.
Fabian, we're talking about the long road to success today. So I know some of the audience, with the market it being as incredible as it is, that's the time that a lot of people say, man, I want to jump into real estate, or I want to jump in because it's cranking and they see it as an easy opportunity.
It's easy.
Yeah, and it's easy. So let's get in, right? But we all know anybody that's done anything to any level of success knows that it doesn't matter what's going on. It's always a lot of work to build a successful business. What would you say if there was a key to your success, or if there were things that brought you to the level that you're at now, for the person that was considering getting in? What would you prepare them for on that long road to success?
I think one of my business coaches says that the word where success comes before work is in the dictionary. But I feel that in this business, or any business, you should work to learn first, and then you work to earn later. And I think you need to take this. You need to think this as a long-term opportunity, and just work. Work to learn for the first few years, become an assistant of someone, have enough income to support you for the next year or two, and then you can actually build a business. And there's not enough money in this world to do this for the money only. There's got to be bigger goals, like serving others, caring, seeing success stories.
And you used the word passion when we were talking the other day, and that's a common theme in this.
On any business, you have to have a passion for it, and without passion, there's no enjoyment in this business.
You said a phrase that I really like: work to earn, then work to learn, and then work to earn. I came up with a little quotable for myself a long time ago, that leaders are learners and learners are earners. You have to start off with that mastery of the craft to really dedicate yourself to acquiring the knowledge to be an expert in your area. No, there's that old saying, a jack of all trades and a master of none. And you know,
dilettante, yes.
I always laugh when I get that business card from somebody, and they say, well, you know, hey, I do X, Y, and Z, and then on the back of their card it says that they walk dogs and they sell noni juice and they do roofing and landscaping and you know everything else. I'm like, okay, you just told me you're not good at any of this.
Yeah. Anybody get into the industry nowadays is can be very dangerous if you look at this as a long-term business, because this is the worst time to train if you're not careful. I think the great time to train a realtor is during a recession. You get your financial order in order, and then you get all the the foundation of your business. Right now, you can make a sale, but then that'll take you so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, experience is a great teacher as long as you have somebody to mentor you. You've had a lot of people mentor. In fact, you have a coach, do you not?
Yeah, Brian Buffini Assistants for the last 10 years basically had taught me how to take care of a business with a 3-leg stool, financial. It is also the lead generation, which is 5 times more important, and the other one is customer service. The financial is just as important as everything else. As he says, most people in America buy things they don't need with money they don't have to impress people they don't know.
What a good point.
That is a very good point. I would agree.
And that was proof of that was during the recession. A lot of people use their homes as pulse machines, suck everything out, and most of Americans lose their homes.
Those equity loans and lines of credit against their homes and things like that. So, yeah, I can understand that. But
it was just a couple short years ago that I remember reading an article in the local paper here that said Americans had the lowest credit score since we've been measuring credit scores.
Really?
Yeah, and that was just about 2 years ago when that hit. But what a coincidence that then we see within that time frame the lowering of the American credit score abroad. It's individual strength leads to the strength of our country.
In my own experience during the recession, my market went from average between 2 to 600,000. After the recession, 300 to 900,000. Oil and gas executives, and for one reason or another, they're the ones that suffered the less during the recession. People under 200,000 and under, those people basically a tough time.
Yeah,
getting back on, the values coming back. Now everybody's doing better, and we're blessed to be in Houston.
And you've actually gotten done very well in a niche part of the business. Kind of talk about the demographics of your clientele.
Sure, it has been by accident actually. I build my business by relationships. Okay. I want to work with people who I enjoy working with and who want to see me do well. And due to that reason, I get pulled a lot in the Energy Corridor area, Memorial, West Houston, Inner Loop, oil and gas executives ages between 25 and 35 years of age.
So you've got young clientele coming in.
A few in the 40s, not that many, and I would say half of them are looking at this as an investment long term. They live in their home, but they want to keep that asset long term. Even though I make homes, helping people sell homes, I try to encourage them to keep their asset and manage it themselves. Unless they get relocated, we offer that management service as well for them, so they can keep the asset.
And so now, do you? Some of the Energy Corridor areas are also the Woodlands and Katy. Are you out in those areas as well?
I send people when it comes to the Woodlands nowadays. I refer all my clients out there to
very
the
smart.
brokers. Yeah, and
goes back to being an expert in the area that you work and things like that.
Right.
So, and you do a lot of international type of business with your clients. Is that correct? Where they're coming from other countries?
Sure.
And coming here.
Probably 60% of them are coming from other countries. Europe. I have some Canadians too. South Americans, Mexico, just about everywhere.
It's an amazing international city.
It really is, and I can attest to this because one of the things people see me and they see, they look at me, and even Fabian was, when you were out there, you were surprised I was speaking Spanish to my kids, for example. But once people find that out, it's a very international community. I would probably say 50%, for example, of my clientele are from individuals like Fabian who have a lot of Spanish-speaking clientele, because they end up, one of the things that people a lot of times when they come here want to deal with individuals who have an ability to understand their language a lot of time, or where they're coming from,
and the culture.
And the culture associated with that, because every culture is a little bit different. In fact, we had a culture issue that we came across the other day. It was pretty interesting. And so, one of the things that we always tell everybody is, people come and they want to deal with like-minded people, both in success of what they do, both in terms of ideology, both in terms of culture, what they understand, family values, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, most of these oil and gas executives, they speak 2, 3, 4, 5 languages, including English, of course. But they want to hear 3 things from most professionals. They want to make sure, can I trust you? do you care about me, and are you good at what you do? Once you finally yes on those 3 questions, then you have a client for life.
And here's what I've found to be true. People who come here and do speak English, and they speak perfectly fine English, but they want to have business details in their native language. Have you found that to be true?
Very true.
Because not everything interprets, from one language to another. And so I find that if you speak Russian, but you speak English, I had a Russian-speaking agent in my office, and someone found her who was from Russia but spoke perfect English, but they wanted to do business in their own language.
And of course, I have to give most of the credit of my success to my wife, which basically
Smart
is,
man.
yeah, she keeps the house in order. I am the hunter, she's the skinner. She keeps all the
I like that.
She keeps all the finances in order. The office, I'm a mess. I mean, when it comes to me, I'm a hurricane. I come in and she basically just keep everything in peace. So she helps me a lot. She's from here, from Texas, and
she's lovely. She's a lovely woman too.
A big shout out to Miss Corzo then.
That's my wife is the reminder of everything for me. She's like, do you have your phone, or do you all that stuff? And early on in the relationship, I used to get offended by that. I'm like, of course I have my dadgummit, it's on the counter.
Yeah.
So you just learn. That's a good thing you're doing.
That's to keep you humble, Joe.
Yeah. So, we are coming up against a break again. Can you believe it? And so, Fabian, how can we reach you if you don't mind?
My website is corzogroup.com.
CorzoGroup.com, CORZO Group.com.
And my cell, 281-250-6376. Call me 24/7. You can pick my brain for free.
Pick his brain for free. Let me tell you, great individual. We still have one more segment coming up. It's our open mic time in the next 15 minutes, so stay tuned. We're taking a break. We'll be right back.
What a world, what a life, I'm in love. I've got a song that I sing.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
And
once again,
we're back.
Every single break has been an entirely different topic. We were talking about the finer points of what is the hood versus your neighborhood when using Spanish.
Well, it goes back to, language.
Knowing cultures.
Language and cultures are very different. One of the things Fabian and I deal a lot with is in the Latin American culture. So you've got Colombia, you have Peru, you have Brazil, which is Portuguese, actually. You've got Mexico. You've got a lot of these different areas. And what's funny is one word in one of those countries means something completely different in another country, or can be interpreted differently in another country. And, it's very interesting because we see this all the time, right? Like in Salvador, puchica is what's used all the time, And you might also have pupusas down there, whereas you have different types of
what he's
foods
talking
and
about?
everything. No, yes.
Puchica.
Puchica. Yeah, puchica. So,
¿Cómo say in inglés?
¿Cómo se dice en inglés qué? But, that's one of the things that we end up seeing. We see a lot of those different things. And so, you have to be very cognizant of understanding that you have to interpret things and be very cognizant not to insult somebody by saying the wrong thing, unfortunately, depending upon where they're from.
Even though Spanish is my first language, I came here when I was 15. Now I'm 46. Most of my clients, they're fluent in Spanish, but I'm more rusty, if you believe it or not. Even with the strong accent that I still have, I ask my clients, hey, guys, if I messed up on something, please let me know.
And they will.
I can say a word that can offend them or whatever. So I want to make it right and keep learning, since we never stop learning.
Right.
So, anyway, we've got listeners out there probably have thought about getting into real estate and probably would like to know what it takes and what do you have to do. And like I say, it often, trouble with success, it often comes dressed up in overalls.
Right.
And it requires a lot of work. So maybe you kind of open it up to what kind of, challenges did you all have starting your businesses? Anyone who wants to field that question.
Anyone who wants to field the question.
So I see.
Not everybody at once.
Okay.
Everybody's
Let's just go with Samantha. She looks like she's ready to answer that question.
Well, financially, it's expensive starting a business, especially when it's straight commission. And I think one of the main reasons why I also leaned towards investors a bit more was because of time constraints. I've a small child, so keeping more regular business hours was something that appealed to me also. So you have to look at your lifestyle and what it is that you are able to do, and not just what you're interested in doing.
And you also had a passion also because you were in the banking side of
Absolutely.
business for a long time. So you actually understood investors. You worked with investors. So you kind of had a concept of, hey, these people need help. And
Sure.
so they kind of went from there. So how do you make that transition from I've got a paycheck every week to, oh, I don't have a paycheck every week?
Well, I mean, it's systems for me. I have to keep my systems in order. I have to constantly recheck them. It's important to keep things scheduled and monitored. I mean, it's all about systems for me and constantly tweaking them and cutting the fat.
And do you find the same thing, Fabian, that you have systems and things in place that you kind of say, or your wife has systems in place?
That's it.
Okay. So.
Yeah. I mean, we had a decent income when we started the business, after a few years, there was some surplus, but I didn't have some financial foundation established. But when I met my wife, we got together in the mid-'90s, then we got married in 97. In 97, her and I basically formed our own team, and I was basically, we were living off her income, and anything that I made from my commissions, I will invest into rental properties. So
Sure.
anything that Fabian made will go for investment properties, and everything what she made, we basically live off of.
Awesome.
I just kind of wanted to echo some of the other thoughts.
Yeah, we've got a show going on over here on the side over here.
She mentioned systems, and we're system geeks in our company. So
get our producer to cut their mic off.
But as we, kind of three big things when we were first getting started out, and I think new agents and people like that who may be listening, who may be considering it in the business, is one, it's much more expensive than you think it is, and you have to view it as you are starting a franchise, you are starting a real estate franchise. And I think when I got into it, I realized that it was going to cost some money. I had a nest egg, but still didn't have a real understanding of the cost and the time it goes into it. The second is that your time management completely changes, and I don't think that we hit up on that. If you're coming from a traditional 8 to 5 work day, you can throw that out the window. It doesn't mean anything anymore. Now you're going to be running around on the weekends, and that one day off that you're used to having is not going to happen. And then third, Samantha kind of spoke to it. I have a family too, and I have a son, Blaine, who's about 5 years old, who's been on many showing appointments and many listing appointments with it, and he's actually become pretty good at it. He knows what's going on.
Wait till he's old enough to put out signs for Dad, right?
Right. And he's actually a good advocate. I think I've got him in a couple of my marketing photos and brochures. So, but yeah, being able to balance family and kind of incorporate them a little bit. It's fortunate. It's a good business you can be in because you can bring your family along with you and have them be a part.
And here's a real point. Here's what I hear a lot from new people and stuff like that is that I want to get in real estate because I can control my own hours. Well, to some degree you can,
right.
But your clients are going to control a lot of what you're doing. But a lot of agents, their biggest issue is they don't treat their business like a business. They treat it like whatever. They're very transactionally oriented. When the commission comes in, that's my income. But it's not your income. It's money coming into your company, but you should have some budgets. And you talked about this, Samantha. You have a budget. I'm going to spend this much on advertising. I'm going to spend this much on education. I'm going to spend this much on this or that. And you have to have a budget going in, marketing pieces and things like that, and stick to it. Because if you get a big commission check of maybe $15,000, $20,000, you go, wow, I'm rich. Let's go take a trip. And you come back and then you go, you haven't done anything for marketing. You haven't done spent on this and that, and all of a sudden you're off your business plan.
It doesn't go as far as many of the many new agents and those outside the business think it does.
And the government wants a little piece of that too, by the way. And coming up on April 15th, I think that is a reminder. That's a National Extension Day, isn't it? April 15th.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you mentioned something very interesting right there. I see it all the time. I see agents and business in general that will come in, they'll get those big months, and then they'll disappear. They're gone. And then what ends up happening, you see them back, 4 or 5 months later, and they are just hounding you because they have to get this next deal closed. And what ends up happening is they're not doing right by the client, they're trying to do right by themselves.
Translation, my rent is due.
That is correct. So, one of the things we tell everybody all the time is, and I think you mentioned you got those 3 stools you need to look at. One is the financial stool. You have to learn how to manage it is a business. Everything that we do, whether you any aspect of being in the real estate business. There's not an appraiser I know who has a salary. There's not a loan officer I know who has a salary. There's not a real estate agent I know who has a salary. So our industry is commission dependent. And so one of the things I tell everybody is align yourself with individuals, with professionals who also have been and know how to set up their businesses accordingly. Because at the end of the day, If you don't do that, then it goes bad really fast. And let me tell you, then what ends up happening is the transaction ends up being about the transaction, not about the experience and the fun and the ultimate enjoyment that you're going to get out of that transaction.
And always start with a company that's going to train you. And I know that Fabian came from Keller Williams, and they have great training. We have great training at Berkshire Hathaway. That's a great place to start. But Fabian, you actually said something that I caught is that about creating new leads and new business is 5 times more important than the business you have right now. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, that's from a business coach. He basically says every business has a stool of 3 legs. Is basically lead generation, which is 5 times more important than the financial management and the customer service. The problem with that is that most of us spend most of our time with customer service. So we get so busy with the day-to-day stuff that we forget to lead generation, which is the number one activity for any
which
business.
is why once you get to a certain point, budget for a good assistant, let them do the administrative thing, so you go out and I don't like to call it lead generation. I always call it relationship building.
Right, that is correct.
And that's kind of the term I like to use because it humanizes it for me. But that's the same thing, out there networking all the time and out there meeting people, and that's a huge part of the business.
Well, and one of the things that we always see, one of the things, and that's a very good way of putting it, that's the way I've structured my business, for example, is about getting out there. I'm always out there. I'm always meeting and associating and doing events and meeting and lead generating. And I've created an incredible staff on the back end because I found out that, guess what? It's important to have that strong staff on the back end so you can continue to work that front end, not only from a lead generation perspective, but also to be able to free yourself up to be able to do things that you need to do for your client perspective. Because if you can't free yourself up for your clients as well, then you end up having 2 things that go wrong. One, you don't generate any leads. You don't generate any referrals off the existing client base that you got either.
That's exactly true. And you are very good at it because you described it best. You don't do your relationships as wide, but very deep. And I think that's a great way to do it.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree.
And I think, Joe, you you do the same thing because you're a king of networking as well.
We have an incredible staff, that makes me look good.
And that's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Full-time job.
That is a lot of work, a full-time job.
And Samantha, I know you do a lot with investors, and you've built such a great relationship with these investors that they bring you other investors.
Yeah, absolutely. My business is primarily, 99% referral. I fortunately don't have to market like a traditional real estate agent, although there is still some marketing that I do, but it's all referral, and that's the combination of the customer service and client relationship.
Now, in your business model, are you doing probably more representing investors to purchase or to sell, or do you just do kind of equal on both?
The majority of the transactions I'm going through this year are flips. There's a lot of amazing opportunities that are going on in the flipping market. I do also represent some builders for new builds. And then I also represent investors that want to buy and sell investment properties. Those are really the 3 types of people that I work with.
Okay, well, there's been some, rumor about that. There's nothing out there to flip. Obviously, that's
I'm
not
doing
true.
one myself right now. There absolutely is.
Because they said you're paying too high of a price. Now, tell people how they might be able to, of course, call you and they can find a good flip.
Of course, who you know.
What you know, it's who you know.
With a flip and with a flip in particular, but again, with most investments, you really have to make your money on the front end. So it is really about finding the deal up front. You're not going to be able to upgrade it enough to really get you that ARV that you're looking for. So again, it goes back to looking at your model, looking at your numbers, putting it in some analyzers and making sure it works before you do anything.
I had one person gave me a bit of advice years ago, and it made so much sense. It was so simple. He said, you make your money when you buy.
Exactly. You get your money on the front end. Absolutely. So finding a deal and finding that's when it's really key to start working with the area specialists. Let them know what it is you're interested in doing and what your time frame is and things like that.
So, and we're coming down to less than 2 minutes. So
you're stealing my thunder. I was about to say.
Oh, okay.
And she's got the mic. I thought,
let's start off with her.
Well, let's start with Samantha. So, what do you want people to walk away from today?
With this show.
From the show. From your.
Put her on the spot.
I don't know. You caught me off guard. I don't know.
That's our job.
I hope that we were able to enlighten them a bit on going into real estate, either if it's for a personal purchase or an investment. It's a business still. It's an asset. It's something that should always make you money, especially if you're going to live in it. So when you purchase that home to live in, what's your out strategy? What are you doing? Is it a 5-year home, a 10-year home? And the same thing with an investment. Start looking at it a little bit more seriously.
And if you're not sure, call Samantha Maret. And Absolutely. How do we reach you?
Maretgroup.com. www.maretgroup.com.
And Fabian, what do you want people to walk away with?
The line is a successful agent promotes constantly, builds relationship, and provides value.
That is awesome.
That's
right
succinct. And how do we reach you? Again, one more time.
Website, corzogroup.com or cell 281-250-6376.
Clinton, how can we reach you?
Soldbyclint.com.
You know, as a great way to always lead this off, whether you can or you can't, you're right.
You're right.
Remember that. Until next time, we are out of here.
And you've been listening to the Real Estate Rat Pack. The question is, who's Frank, who's Sammy, who's Dean, and who's the other guy?
Chris is Frank,
I'm
he's
Dean.
Dean, and I'm Sammy.
Yes, that's right.
So tune in to the really big show every Saturday.